Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Niresh Eliyatambi. So, we've just got a few days to go before the local councils come together and vote for the mayor or the chairperson of each council. And we are waiting with bated breath because yes, the NPP has won a large number of councils, but there are still many councils where it is all up in the air. No one really knows, including the all-important Colombo Municipal Council. So various parties make various claims saying we're going to be heading this council and that council and this, we have this coalition support and so on. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and it is next week when we will find out who actually controls which council. So a lot of exciting news expected next week. And to discuss all this, we have with us this evening Mr. Barath Arullsamy, who is the Vice President of the Democratic People's Front, DPF. Now, the DPF, of course, is part of an alliance which is called the Tamil Progressive Alliance, TPA, which in turn is part of the SJB, the Samagi Jana Balavegya Alliance. So it's part of that coalition, and we want to ask Barath what's going on, who's going to form what, as far as he knows and as far as he can tell the public. So good evening and welcome, Barath.
Good evening, Mr. Niresh. Thank you for having me here today.
Right, so the whole country is waiting to see who's going to control which council, Barath, and
yes,
especially people living in those respective council areas, they want to know because it directly impacts them. The people of Colombo, for example, that's the biggest example, but not the only one. They want to know who's going to be their mayor, who's going to control the council. And therefore, who's going to be responsible for the city of Colombo and other areas? So, what's the latest on this, Barath?
Mr. Niresh, actually, the results were twofold. One is a clear message that people have not, lost the hope of the ruling government, because in many wards, even though the candidate was not a famous person, for the sake of their NPP candidates, they have won the electorate. Similarly, the people have given a warning to the government by, in certain local government authorities, the opposition or the joint opposition has taken the lead than the government. And to be very precise, in year 2021 or prior to that, our party leader Mano Ganeshan and the present president Andhra Kumar Disanayaka, when he was the opposition MP, they had a lot of discussions and talks to reform the existing electoral system for local government. As you can clearly witness, someone has won, but the others are getting mandate to form the government. It is not correct in ethical way, I would say, because when the people have given a mandate to a certain party or an entity, they should be enabled to form the administration and run it for the prescribed time. But here, unfortunately, we can see lot of miscommunications or misdirections, or some government it is saying they will capture, and opposition we are saying yeah, no, we will capture. So this created a uncertainty and volatile environment where the people mandate has been challenged. So this is what we had as an opposition requested the government, even though the court has given a ruling to conduct this election, they had all the opportunity to reform this, without this corruption or this kind of a volatile environment not to be happened. But unfortunately, this has happened. But we are as a opposition, we are also got the mandate of the people, where we got clear winnings in certain local government entities, and many wards we have won. And it's a mixed feeling of the people. Even in north, you could have seen in the parliamentary election, the results were very different, and the local government election, the regional parties have gained control over there. That doesn't mean that government has fallen, but the thing is, the indication for the government is that people are very watchful, and they are very vigilant of what's happening.
But Bharat, this is to be expected in almost any election in any country, really. A party sweeps to power, and then maybe for a few months it will maintain that popularity, but then people start to lose faith, because it's one thing to promise something when you are in the opposition, but once you get into government, you find all the constraints, especially the financial ones, and also there is a general slowing down. It's not, we've seen one situation in the world where President Donald Trump came in there and he just signed hundreds of executive orders, and just today one of his major orders on the customs tariffs, which he imposed around the world on every country, has been suspended by court. So if you try to take it too fast, you run the risk of doing things wrong, which is not to say that you shouldn't, as a government, they should move fast, because people, after all, are suffering, and they have expectations.
Exactly.
But my point being that the drop in popularity is perhaps expected, don't you think?
I mean, it's like the drop of popularity. Now, when we compare a recent past, in 2015 to 2018 local government election and the presidential general election, there was a 3-year gap for the government to lose the entire confidence at that time. Here, it's just a matter of few months. So within months, if there is a curve going down, then it's a serious question for the government. They wanted to rethink, are they on the right track? And also, yes, now as I always keep on saying, the government has got the ground level mandate also. So now there is no excuse. As you correctly mentioned, we are running we are competing with the time. So we don't have any comfort zone or any saying this is a practicing time. Everything is gone at the moment. Now it's a serious business time. And also clear message shows that when this President Trump's a lot of unexpected decisions may sometime alter the course of the global geopolitics as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So are we ready for that? Now, as you are well aware, in this recent past 10-20 years, our negotiation skills with any other countries have been disastrous. The tariff discussion with America or Europe or Japan or China or India or Russia, everything we have played very immature kind of a situation. So as a result, the the country has lost the credibility with those countries and in the international organizations as well. So winning back and making the political status quo in a acceptable manner is very important. So that's what Mr. Naresh in the very beginning. It is not about having the popularity or running for electoral election winning mindset than the reform mindset. So those are two separate principles. So I would say the government has to rethink about their strategies. So as you are well aware, there is a clear distinction between the plan and the strategy. So the government had good plans, their electoral mandate, manifestos shared the insights of their plans. But when it comes to strategically implement, now we have not seen so far any improvement on that. So people say, yes, the government is on the right track. Yes, it's on the right track. They have not messed up any ongoing processes. That doesn't mean without doing anything you can't say no that they have not messed up. So you in a football game, just where you can play only defense without putting any goal, right? That doesn't mean you will win the match. End of the day, in the last second also you have to try and put a goal to win the match. So here we don't see any progressive methodology used by the government.
I think you're saying there's a lack of urgency.
Exactly, lack of urgency, and also there is from the very inception what I told Mr. Naresh, even in the programs, the government should tell what they are going to do. Now, if it is coming for economic policy, we all know, in a layman term, I'm not an economist, but in a layman term, the trade and the competition for trade should be established for the ground for manufacturing. So when we are looking at our neighbor India, now they have shifted from fifth economy to fourth economy, and they are also hunting for
fourth largest economy in the world
yes,
now.
Yeah,
they surpassed Japan
recently, and also they are also hunting for investments, right? We are also hunting for investment. Their credit rating is much higher, our credit rating is much lower, and they have a billion population market. We don't have market, and we have lot of red tapes on investments. So are we prepared enough, or are we equipped enough to compete with our neighbor? I'm not talking about Vietnam, Bangladesh, Philippines. I'm talking about our neighbor. So in that scenario, when an international investor comes in, will he give priority for us, or will he give priority for our neighbors like Bangladesh or India? So here now we have, I am not asking the government or the government stakeholders to immediately provide everything. That is impossible, and it is immature for us also to ask like that. But you have to have a plan where a kind of a window created for investments, proper reforms should be done for businesses, and you have to encourage you have to reform the state-owned businesses. So there are a lot of things in line in the pipeline to be just to not to deliver but to give up back.
But Barath, in a democracy, in most democracies, the ruling party needs to have a strong opposition breathing down its neck so that it will perform, because the ruling party knows that if it does not perform, then there is a strong opposition which people would turn to. But in this case, in Sri Lanka, we don't have one single strong opposition party. And now we saw that with the local government elections, where yes, the combined opposition parties have a large number of council seats. But if you take, individually, the opposition parties don't have a lot of seats. So, in fact, now in the tussle for CMC,
Yes.
The talk is of an alliance which would include the SJB, UNP, SLPP, and the minority coalition parties such as yours. So when you look at this, it's a motley crew. It's a gathering which you wouldn't expect. You have the SJB and UNP, which, I mean, especially throughout last year, a lot of supporters of both those parties were calling for the two parties to form an alliance. That didn't happen. And then even this year, for the local government election, there was a stringent call for that. Didn't happen. There were some talks, but in the end, they didn't have an alliance. And then you have the SLPP, which ideologically is completely different. And now the SLPP support would be needed in the councils for such a coalition. And of course, then you have the minority parties as well. So this is an unlikely coalition, and when it comes to national politics, it doesn't put a lot of pressure on the ruling party.
Mr. Naresh, to be very precise on the CMC, I would say it's my personal opinion, though I represent the opposition. The opposition is trying its level best to form a coalition with the opposition parties as a whole to get the administration of CMC. But when you take our numbers, it is a clear indication the majority has gone to NPP. So my personal opinion is that they should form the government, since they have got the highest number of mandate from the people. On the other hand, as an opposition personality, we have engaged with talks, and we are being an alliance party of SJB alliance. We are also a little bit disappointed on the initial discussion of merging or kind of coming for an understanding with SJB and UNP. It has been tried from not only for local government or general election, but also for the presidential election. So due to certain individuals' pride and egoistic approach, end of the day, the party as an alliance has to get the hit. So it is a troublesome situation, though, but we have to accept the reality. So and also we have had a discussion with independent parties, independent members who have been selected for local government, and also with the other political parties as well. From our alliance also, there are, I think, 4 to 5 members have been included in the MCMC. But we got informations during last couple of days. Now, most of the formation, now here there are either you select a chairman or a mayor by an unanimous decision, or you go, if both parties represent with 2 candidates, then there will be a open ballot or a secret ballot. I was told lot of areas government is taking decision to go for secret ballots. So in secret ballots, we don't know how things will work. It depends on the specific Pradesh Sabha member or a MC member to decide who he or she is willing to vote for. So as opposition party, yes, we have given direction to our members, but formation, it's still a question. But as I told you, this would have been prevented. It's the corruption, Mr. Naresh, is not only by gaining assets or mishandling state fund, but also misleading the people's mandate, or not delivering the promise which made to people, is also in form of a corruption, I would say. So this local government election is a classic example for that, because it has created a kind of a mixture or a soup which has people, right? People think, okay, I have voted for this member to become my ward member, but in the other hand, someone else is forming the government. So it is a clear indication that this system is failed in this. So in majority local government election, we can anticipate the local government of NPP will come.
Yes.
And we are also trying our best, as there is nothing wrong, unethical or immoral of discussing with other opposition parties as well, whether we can get together and form the administration.
Right.
So there is no legal barrier for that, but we are initiating that. We are also confident that we can get power on hold.
So, with only a few more days to go, I'm sure a lot of people will be burning the midnight oil discussions and
Exactly.
phone calls and so on.
Yes.
And each party will be trying to find out what's going on with the other parties
Exactly.
as well.
Exactly.
So, it's a lot of secretive
And nowadays,
cloak
a
and
lot
dagger.
of discussions.
Yes, lot going on, and it changes from day to day, doesn't
Yes.
it?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay. So I'd like to address one point that you made about the egos of party leaders, and it's very unfortunate. This is something which has come up time and time again. So many political figures who have come on this particular program have mentioned this over the past year or more, and this basically it's bad for each party when a party leader decides that he or she is bigger than the party. So it's bad for the party, it weakens the party, but it's also bad for the nation, isn't it? Because if such a leader were to become president or have a big say in office, then what is to prevent that leader's ego from being more important than the country?
Exactly. Mr. Naresh, see, people always wanted, every challenging situation is an opportunity to rise or redefine, and also redefine the maximum we can provide for the people. So that is a challenge in political situation. So either we are using it wisely, or we are crumbled with that and we lose the ground. So here, in each, when you take the history after the independence or prior to independence, the political leaders who have come into power always messed with Sri Lankan emotions. So Sri Lanka, the present government is not exception also. They also had the emotions on board. If the emotions are not there, I would say if you are giving credit and workable plan, people would have voted for Ranil Wickremesinghe, because he is a person who recovered and put on right track. But here people took a very emotional decision. Okay, this entire political leaders, so-called political leaders, have corrupted the system. The system is almost corrupted. So we need to give a new leadership. So as a result, the current government is there. But when it comes to this personal agenda or over the people's aspiration, then it is a big problem for any political party to grow. So here, I would say, to take the opposition forward, yes, we have ideological differences. As you correctly mentioned, SJB is very much different than SLPP. SLPP is very much different nowadays from PA and SLFP. and also like every parties are different in their own principles and way of deliverance, and also in the ideologies. So here, when it comes to personal agenda more important than the party's democracy or the growth of a certain group of parties, then it's a problem. I'm correct. I'm agreeing with you, but I think the leadership of many parties have realized that we shouldn't. It is no more neutral playground for them to take decision, because people are taking decision on behalf of the parties also nowadays. So it is very difficult for one person or one entity to make decision on their ways, whims and fancies. So I totally agree with that decision. But as a young politicians, we also look forward, our now for an example, in our party, Leader Manoganeshan has taken a decision to uplift the second level leadership. So there are like 5-6 of us who he wanted us to come forward and take policy making and decision making. And similarly, you can observe in other parties as well, the younger generation or the next level generation is coming forward now, unlike 10-20 years back. When you come to a junior person, you are not limited for only for directive. We also in our voices also need to be listened. So here I think the leaderships have decided, or they have realized that a collective decision and all the sake of the party's growth, they should listen to others as well. So I really appreciate if that happens. And in the present government also took a policy decision. So they were JVP up until 2019-20. Then they they have shifted the policy according to the aspiration of the people, where they incorporated other like-minded people and formed the NPP. As a result, in 4 to 5 years, they have gained the power of the country. So similarly, if the existing political parties can leave aside this politically and egoistic or self agenda and unite for the country, yes, they can deliver also more than the government, because no one can say for 75 years nothing has been done. So that is a very wrong statement by many that they are saying. There are mishaps, there are drastic failures, but the country has come so far in a systematic manner, though the system is corrupted. So my take on this is more than personal agenda, people oriented service should be more valuable for a party to grow.
Well, that's a lot more to be discussed, but right now we're going to take a short commercial break. We are in conversation with Mr. Barath Arullsamy, Vice President of the DPF. Don't go away, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Face to Face. I am in conversation with Barath Arullsamy, Vice President of the DPF. A couple of points you made, Barath. You said that the decision of voters is often an emotional one, and even with the last few elections that it has been so. This is of course true, but emotion comes from many factors that affect a voter, and the previous government, a lot of people give it some credit for getting the economy somewhere back on track, but it really was never going to win, because 25% of the people fell below the poverty line. And if you can't make ends meet where you can't find 3 meals a day, you're not going to vote for the party in power. And then also there was the decision, the illegal decision, according to the Supreme Court, of postponing the local government elections. And people need their local councils because the day-to-day services are provided by these councils. And there were no council members. There were bureaucrats in the councils, but it's so difficult to get anything done. So whether it's garbage collection or women's issues, childcare, all these local level issues simply were not being done. So that was a huge vacuum in government. So in that respect, it was foolhardy for the UNP to expect that they would get more votes, don't you think? Because in the end, that is what the emotion comes from that. If you can't get anything done, if you feel the government has deserted you, your emotion is to vote for the other guy.
I agree with that, Mr. Naresh. Like, when we see the emotions over strategic decisions, let's separate the voting pattern of the local government election from north to south. When you see the northern voting pattern, north and east, has shifted drastically than the president and parliament elections. So, in the president election, yes, the SJB leader Sajith Premadasa got high number of votes in northern and eastern parts, and in general election, NPP got more votes in northern and eastern parts. But in local government election, the regional parties have got northern and eastern parts. So here there are a lot of political arguments, but when you see, the people have taken a decision, as you correctly mentioned, when there is a promise made, if that promise is not implemented, then it is a problem. So here the government may give excuses that we are new, but people doesn't think that you are new and you have time. 6 months in a 5-year regime is a big time, Mr. Naresh.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in if you can't give I don't say a solution, rather if you can give a kind of a working plan or a strategy, okay, this is how we are going to do, then people tend to lose the confidence. But when it comes to, now this is I'm talking about northern region, northern and eastern region, and also when you see the Muslim voters live in majority areas, also it has now in general election, the wave was so high for the government. Here now it has reduced in the Muslim areas as well, where the aspiration of Muslim community has not met with the government's promises, and especially in the upcountry region when it comes to there is we observed, I have to be very frank, we observed still people have faith on the government than the regional parties. So our people doesn't shift, traditionally doesn't shift from regional parties to national parties easily, but this time they have even not in president, also in president election, general election, both in local government election also. So they have given a clear indication, okay, we are giving a chance for the government. If this demands of our people, especially elevating from the poverty level and also providing education, health, infrastructure and their living conditions, housing, if that is not provided for our people, then this shift will be much emotional. This emotion will take drastic decisions. So when you take Aragalaya, The Aragali is not a strategic move. People may say it's a strategic move to oust the president, but it all fueled up with emotions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was, in the end, it was a spontaneous outpouring of
Exactly.
people were desperate.
Yeah, exactly. So, the government should not take these emotions lightly. Every week they come up with a small narrative, and they will pass that week, and the next week they will come with a narrative. So, yeah, if you would have observed this 6 months, every week there will be a narrative. So let it be Vesak, let it be Dhatu, let it be salt issue, sugar issue, anything. Yeah. So every week there will be a narrative. So people will talk on that. They will forget about. So they shouldn't think people are like they will think only on this and they will forget the rest. No, they are very much vigilant on what we have promised, what we are doing. Now we are being in the opposition. Now the difference between you, I may forgot to mention one thing, Mr. Nilesh, for your earlier question also. The opposition who are right now and the opposition which were in earlier are two different entities. Yes, the opposition's responsibility is to question the government, make accountable, and make sure that government provides what they have promised. But not now. Here you don't see any protest happening. You don't see any trade union rights activists happening. Here we don't say if there is a agreement between European Union, no one will come and protest. If there is a tariff discussion between America, no one come and protest. But you remember I told all this bilateral discussion which we had with other countries, with the ECTA agreement, American agreements, Japan agreements, Chinese agreements, Russian agreements, any progressive decisions which the government back then the government decided, then the opposition present the government had issues. They doesn't want something to happen in this country. Every time, every month, there will be protests, shout outs, barriers, and lot of things were happening. So here, this opposition also putting forward a new political culture. Yes, we speak out in parliament. We use media platforms to give rational understanding for our people. We also make statements. We use social media platforms in a very, very progressive way. And also, Mr. Naresh, when you talk about emotions in the last remembrance of war, in this country, still we have to grow. So, as a Tamilian here, you would have seen I representing from upcountry. I don't want this country to be separate. We are also striving, our community is striving to become the full-fledged Sri Lankan community here. But you would have observed in social media or in media platforms and various statements by various political or groups, same story are treated in different angles. So will that bring a national unity and reconciliation among us? Is a question. So these are emotions, Mr. Nilesh. Still, we need to, it's not a solution bringing questions though. So I mean, if we still think the war which ended 16-17 years ago is going to impact on us in a rational mindset, and also are we going to stand side and still are we going to create a chaos among that, then I don't think Sri Lanka will have a progressive future. So
let's look at this whole now you brought up the issue of reconciliation. I think reconciliation is a term which is misunderstood a lot. Because as you said, the war ended 16 years ago. So this is not about the war itself. It is about the here and now. And the issues of the minorities right now in 2025, which some of those relate back to the war, yes, but much of it is in fact economic, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, Mr. Naresh, like, see, I always say the communities living in Sri Lanka and the communities, the Sri Lankans who are living in abroad are very much disappointed with the system. So, it is a big Herculean task for this present government to take a correct decision. It should be very precise. If these emotions of two communities or any communities in Sri Lanka is going to be affected, or it's going to go on the cost of another, then I don't think there will be an economic growth. If someone one side grows and the other side pull back, then it is a problem. Now, a lot of people were asking about, what is the solution for our country? Or Mr. Naresh, I now say, without going deeper into northern subject or southern subject, let me take our community as an example. A lot of corporate entities, a lot of civil organization ask a question: why do you ask for land rights? What is there now? Nothing is preventing for a Indian origin Tamil community Malaga person is owning a land. If he has money, he can go and buy a land even in Colombo. I said, yes, there is no restriction for us. But this system for the past couple of more than 76 years have crushed us without giving this economic independence. Any person who living in a lion room is not economically liberal enough to come and procure a land in somewhere, even in his own town. So what we are requesting is, we are not requesting the entire plantation for us. Like even less than 1% of a land where they can put a small plot of house and call that land as they are owners of that land. This will, economically viable for that area, and also that in our country, where when they get an ownership, they will treat this land as their own, and the economy will boost. So it's a case study you all must understand. I have explained in many ways, even I advocate for that. So similarly, when these tensions between Sinhalese and Tamils, Sinhalese and Muslims, Muslims and Tamils, and whatever communities we are in, this is not going to bring any economic benefit for any country as a whole. Now, for an example, Mr. Resh, now this Indian political culture, they are dead against each parties. Like BJP is against Congress and DMK is against Congress, BJP. So they have a lot of differences. When it comes to country, you would have observed they all stood together. So similarly, I would request our people also, forget about parties, colors, caste, creed, anything. When it comes to country's economic growth, we all should gather. So now this government has two responsibilities, Mr. Naresh. Yes, they have to grow this country economically, and also this country should be, social growth also should be there. If this social growth is going to, this economic growth is going to happen on the cost of social growth, then this economic growth will collapse.
Right. Now, we all know that race, religion, caste, these are the factors which have divided Sri Lankans, and of course politicians, many politicians have taken undue advantage and created barriers.
Yes.
Which is why a person will say, I'm a Sinhalese, I'm a Tamil, I'm a Muslim, rather than saying I'm a Sri Lankan.
Exactly.
And in fact, it even came down to the various forms you have to fill in government offices, it will ask you, the word race
Yes,
was very prevalent. Now it's less prevalent, and I mean, I personally have had arguments in government offices where it said race, I put Sri Lankan, and then I was told you can't put that. So I said, no, that's all I'm putting. So,
that's a good one.
So yeah, this happened in the 80s, 90s, and so on, and even a few years ago. So this mindset, of course, is the problem. But having said that, yes, we do need to all think as Sri Lankans. But in any country, Bharat, the communities which are most downtrodden are usually assisted in various ways, and this can be, you can say the differently abled people, or people who are living furthest away from the cities and in the poorest regions, so for example, Monaragala district, Mullaitivu district, and so on. So there's actually no problem in helping those communities out, regardless of which race they are. But here in Sri Lanka, it's very well recognized that the estate community is among the more unfortunate, and therefore needs assistance in various forms. Well, so having said that, are you disappointed with the slow progress in the last couple of years, perhaps, of helping the estate community? In the sense now, just I think recently we had the 200th anniversary, 200 years of that community serving Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So everyone's aware of the community, but and it was celebrated. But are you satisfied or dissatisfied with the pace of progress, really?
Pace of progress, Mr. Naresh, is not there, I would say. There is no progress. There is still, we are in the same page. We are talking about turning next page. We are talking about the pages we read, but we stand still on the same page. That is the bitter truth. As I told you, it's not about suppressing our people. It's not about not giving due diligence for our people. It's not about that we are one of the community is more exposed to the poverty and also low in economical growth. It's all about how we take this forward. What is the sustainable solution we can provide? That's what, Mr. Naresh, I emphasize on the fact that the economic independence for the community. If the economic independence is given to this community, then they will also grow and make this country also grow. It is evident whenever the challenging time the country has faced, even in war, economic crisis, pandemic, the community members were hardly working for the survival of this country. The trade was running, the plantation sector was running, and that fueling was happening through their striving. So I don't say because of that they should be given all these things. They are also Sri Lankans, so you can't leave them behind and talk about our growth. So here you have to pull everyone together and come forward. So
right.
That is our aspiration, Mr.
Now, the NBP, Bharat, sometime, I think it was last year, they had what they called, I believe, was the Hatton Declaration, where they came up with a plan. This is when they were in the opposition, a plan by which to uplift the estate community. What's happened to that? Have they forgotten that? What's going
thing
on?
Is, even whenever I refer to the government representatives, they always refer this Hatton Declaration. Actually, for quite recent time, I have never gone to that Hatton Declaration. Then suddenly, I was just going through what is this Hatton Declaration all about. It's a five or 4 pager document which has 7 topics, which we all know. Like, you know, we have they talk about housing, they talk about tea small holders, they talk about education. These problems we all know. Problems everyone can talk, Mr. Dinesh. Solutions, there is no solutions from this government for our people. So that's what we are advocating. Okay, provide solutions. And Mr. Dinesh, like I urge, you know, forget about infrastructure at the moment. The education and primary health is very vital for our community, because, you know, we do have plantation education when you go to education ministry, which has a less budgetary allocation. When the urban sector and the rural sector grow in a 50-60% growth, that will be, this plantation education sector will be 2 to 5% education growth. So does that mean that we are equal? I'm not talking about equality. You have to think it in a equity manner, because, you know, we are in a very desperate situation with less facilities when comparing to others. So you have to give more focus on us to uplift us. So the Hatton Declaration is mere just a document, Mr. Naresh. It's not going to help anyone.
Words, not deeds.
Pardon?
Words, but not deeds.
Exactly. It's just mere words. They have identified the problem. The problem has been discussed for many decades.
So that is part one.
Yeah.
You know, you identify the problem,
Yes.
you accept the problem,
Yes.
but then part two is you do something.
Part 2 is not there in the syllabus at all.
Okay, we are almost out of time, but I want to get your opinion on one more thing. You mentioned that this government is about 6 months old, but the presidency is 8 months old. But let's say, okay, 6 months out of a 5-year term, which is that's 60 months. So we are 10% of the way through this presidency, which is quite significant.
Yes,
So
yes.
you can't say anymore that it's just 6 months. That's 10%.
Yes.
And if you take that's the government, the presidency itself is 8 months. So
Exactly.
it's even more. Right. So having recognized this, how much longer will, in your opinion, will it take before the population say, okay, stop telling us about, you know, it's been only 6 months or 8 months, we don't want to hear this?
People have already spoken, Mr. Naresh. Local government election is a visible evidence. Before they come out to the roads, the government should take decisions to two important things in their reform agenda. Should be their policies on economic reforms. You know, how the state-owned enterprises are going to be managed, how the local businesses can be improved, how the international trade with our partners can be enhanced. So these should be number one priority. Now here, no one can say, this government can't say, you see, we are 6 months, we are this many days. That story is finished. And you compare,
So the honeymoon period is over.
yeah, that is no more now. Here in this crisis, no honeymoon at all. Immediately for action only. So that is one thing. And when you compare to global politics and our politics, Mr. Naresh, within these 6 months, many things have happened. You would have seen the rise of some nations, some fall of some nations. Many drastic decisions had been made. So we are not a exceptional case where we are not a developed country to take a kind of a resting period or a very slow pace. It's not there. That is not more. And secondly, second reform is a social reform. Social reform is, you know, done away with the PTA and if they are introducing some laws to tackle this corruption and all this injustice, so that law should come in. So I don't see any laws being implemented so far by this government to what they have promised in their manifesto, or they were like talking in the political stages. So that is not, the social reforms are not done. So if they are going to talk about northern development, northern social culture enhancement, so how that is going to happen in our community, right? Land rights, or how they are going to improve the sustainability of the tea industry, that is not discussed yet. And when it comes to southern line, so how the fishermen are going to get empowered, that is not discussed so far. So here we are still riding on the same boat without without getting any hits. As I told you, they are in a 2020 match. They are just playing in a how they are playing in a test match, just dot balls, and they are saying, yeah, well, sure, good shot. It's not going to, like, in 2020 match, it's all about how you hit out of the line. So if they are going to play 2020 match as test match, definitely they will lose. If they are going to take the risk and hit the ball out of the line, yes, they will have a political future, and more than their political future, the country's future will be very stable.
Interesting thoughts indeed, and I'm afraid we are out of time. My thanks to Barath Arullsamy, Vice President of the DPF. Thank you very much for being with us this evening, Barath.
Thank you very much, Mr. Niresh, for having me here today, and it was a very productive discussion.
And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.